Hello, Rowan here. Feeling a little down today. I've been feeling down the past couple of days. I finally finished all of the artwork for my mixed medium deck, and I've formatted it into two separate versions of the deck on Make Playing Cards, and I have submitted it for printing, and now I'm just waiting very impatiently for those decks to get to me. And unfortunately, I'm thinking that neither version of the deck is going to be the final version, which is very frustrating because I spent a lot of money trying to get these decks made, and now I'm thinking that I'm going to go a totally different, like a combined direction between the two different formats to get what I want. But the long story of it, made short, is that I finished the deck, and now I don't have anything to do with my time. I mean, like, obviously there are things that I could be doing. I could be doing chores. I could be doing YouTube. I could find a new project. But I had been working on this for so many weeks, and if you've ever completed an art project and felt this way, I know you know what I'm talking about. But it's done. And I don't have the final result yet, which makes it a little bit worse. I don't have a deck that I can play with yet. Because the original version is mixed media collage style, I don't want to be shuffling it and using it, and what's more, some of the cards are made on the backs of other cards to save money on paper, and yeah, it's the original deck, the artwork itself is not usable as a Oracle deck, so I have to wait until I get the new ones in. And yeah, like I said, I don't feel great because I've finished a project. There's nothing to show for it. I don't have anything to continue working on. I could be working on the guidebook, but I want to get the deck in my hands before I do that. So yeah, I'm kind of not feeling great right now. I want my deck. That's really what it comes down to. Also, I've mentioned before, but I recently quit one of my vices, and unfortunately I have not been dealing with that well. I have spent way more money on tarot and oracle decks than I wanted to this month, because my impulse shopping has been through the roof. But the decks that I got are beautiful, and the guilt from having impulse purchased them is the only thing that's keeping me from truly enjoying them right now. So I got the Gay Marseille by Charlie Burgess. I was going to get the book with this, but I could not justify the price for both at one time when I was already spending so much money on decks. So I'll have to get the book at a later date when and I'll just have to pay for shipping twice. It is what it is. But yeah, the Gay Marseille has come in. It looks like it's edged, even though those are raw edges, just because the color on the cards is so vibrant. I'm gonna make a whole thing. I've also got the Lillifer Tarot. That one's new. The Wanderer's Tarot. This one I got pre-used. And then a couple of oracle decks too. So it's really embarrassing how much money I've been impulse spending lately. So, I don't know. I guess today I just kind of wanted to sit here and play with my cards a little bit. I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing, quite frankly. I don't feel good, and I want to make something so that maybe I'll feel a little bit better. And so here we are, YouTube. Here we are. Let's play with the Star Power Tarot. I love this deck. This is possibly one of my new favorites. It feels a lot like the Zeke's Arcana with regards to like the energy of the artwork. Obviously the styles are very different, but it gives you that surrealist, psychedelic world to step in, just like the Zeke's does. I love the vividness of the colors. I enjoy the perspective that this deck takes. So for me, the Wheel of Fortune is a card that's always about how you don't have control over the changes that happen in life. Change is going to happen whether you like it or not. But in this deck, it's way more about taking control of the wheel, turning it yourself, and being the captain of your own ship in that regard. The Six of Wands. So this one is like this idea of protecting the self. So this to me is less Four of Pentacles, miserly with the resources that you have, and more Four of Pentacles, protective over your body and dutiful in making sure that your body is getting the care and respect that it deserves. Page of Swords, Ace of Cups, Four of Swords. Like, these cards do not all immediately give you a hit that says this is what this card is all about. Some of them are portraits that very vaguely hint at the concepts that the card is presenting. Love this Page of Wands. This might be one of my favorite Page of Wands ever. Just this quirky energy, this constantly changing, fluctuating passions kind of energy is really, really interesting for the Page of Wands, and I thoroughly enjoy it. This Lovers card is one of my favorite lovers. And there is, one moment, let me see if I can find, here she is, the Queen of Pentacles. I love it when a deck gives us the wild side of the Queen of Pentacles. So this deck associates all the pentacles less so with like the material world. When you read the guidebook, it's less about the material world and the body, and it's more about capitalism and the ways in which we interact with capitalism, the system that encompasses us. So it's a little bit less literal, which is really interesting. So this Queen of Pentacles here is shown on a dance floor, and there's a lot of Twin Peaks references in this deck, so I think the black and white of the dance floor is meant to sort of hearken to the black and white zigzag floor of the lodge in Twin Peaks, and the red in the background that looks a little bit like strobe lights, but also a little bit like fire, reminds me of the red curtains in the lodge. So the way that she's like dancing, happily controlling this dance floor just tells me that she has fully immersed herself in this sort of weird, liminal, not literal, not fake space, and has total control of it. And she's able to dance across this plane that for most of us makes us uneasy and uncomfortable. So I really enjoy when the Queen of Pentacles shows a bit of her wild side. This is not my favorite death card, I've got to say. But I love this deck. This is a great Temperance card, showing the act of balancing the head and the heart and trying to figure out what the best choices for your own internal self are. Yeah, I really love this deck, and I love the way it shuffles. It's got a kind of thin card stock, but it has what I'm assuming is lamination over it, which gives it more support and plenty of slip. It's very glossy, if you can see that. This is a great Hanged Man. Love this one. This one made it into my book of favorites. But the gilding is soft. Like the gold gilding on the side is soft. The cards are very flexible. They don't bow super easily because of what I assume is lamination. So I really enjoy the production quality of this deck. I enjoy the experiential interaction of using it. I thoroughly love. I like that it's got Star Trek references in it, like this Strength card. We see our characters here wearing Star Trek uniforms. Yeah, I love all the pop culture references that bring in the meanings of the cards. I love the shuffling experience of this deck. I love the world that this deck invites me into. I thoroughly enjoy this deck. And While today we are going to be doing some pairings with this deck, I actually usually use the star power on its own because the imagery that it has is so busy and so strong that it doesn't really need the support of another deck. But we're going to give it a shot today anyways, just because I know a lot of people prefer to work with their decks with an oracle. And I do often bring in an oracle as like an answer, or a, not an answer, but a clarifying card when I'm using this deck. But I don't really do it in this setup where you have card, oracle. I don't usually work with this deck in that way. I find it like I just want to live in this deck, and then I pull out an oracle card for a clarifier, but I want to have the reading live in the world that this deck provides me with. So for oracle decks, let's start with one of my new ones, the Sacred Symbols Oracle. This one I got almost specifically to work with this deck because it is the card fronts are so minimalist. I just think that this one's going to be a workhorse that pairs with a lot of different decks in my collection. I have already edged mine in gold paint marker. It did not come that way. But I do think that this one's going to be a workhorse. I think this one, because it already pairs with so many of my decks so well. So let's take a look here. Right. So we have the Three of Cups, Veiled, and the Ace of Cups. So if I were to get this, I would interpret this as telling me that there's something that I am keeping from my relationships. There is something that I'm hiding about myself that I need to uncover in order to truly tap into the emotional satisfaction that comes from uniting with friends. So perhaps I have a party coming up or some sort of organized hangout, and I need to take the time to do the emotional work to be vulnerable at this hangout, no matter how closed off I want to feel, so that I can properly share what is in my cup with the people around me, thus allowing me to make deeper and more meaningful emotional connections. Then we have Divinity, the Hermit, and the Devil. So to me, this is a card about the dangers of spending too much time trying to tap into the divine. This is about spending all of your time alone and searching for God. Sometimes instead of God, what you find is the devil. And sometimes that desire to pursue holiness, to pursue mystical experiences, sometimes that desire is a dangerous one when it is not properly curbed. And so this reading to me would say, be careful when you are all alone. You do not have the defenses against bondage that you normally would when you are being supported by others. So because you are walking this path on your own and you are searching for these answers on your own, be careful, because finding God will also mean finding the devil, and you have to balance those two forces and not get pulled too far either one way or the other in order to maintain that sense of self as you go through this self-exploration, internal exploration, mystical exploration kind of thing. So that one. And the Hermit and the Devil are some of my favorite cards, not just in this deck, but in general. So I love getting those side to side with the Divinity card. I'm actually going to pull this and do some journaling on this later. I'm going to take that out. All right, so then we have the Nine of Cups, Truth and Justice. Okay, so you're experiencing a lot of satisfaction with the things that you have, but something here is not quite right. I don't think all the things that you have belong to you, and I think it's time for you to recognize that just because they bring you satisfaction doesn't mean that they're necessary for your satisfaction and your joy in life. I think this might be a great opportunity to share what you have with others, and to recognize that just because you have done hard work for something doesn't mean that you've necessarily earned it, and that the thing that is proper to do is to share the wealth that you have obtained. In this case, a lot of that wealth is in the emotional arena. That abundance is emotional, relational abundance. But the Nine of Cups to me is a card that's all about getting emotional satisfaction out of the physical world that you have built for yourself. So if you do have an abundance of physical goods that are bringing bringing you some of that satisfaction. It's time to Marie Kondo that. Figure out what brings less joy and pass that along to people who can derive much more use from it. And in doing so, you're going to find that the things that you love, you have an easier time connecting with and getting deep with. Because once you get rid of the stuff that clutters up the truth of your relational stature with things, it becomes a lot easier to have these healthy relationships with objects. So we get the Hierophant, Air, and the Four of Swords. So the Four of Swords can be about rest, but something that I always read it as is it's about being correct, about being stable in your knowledge, about knowing what is right and not needing to dwell on it anymore because you figured it out. So the Hierophant and the Four of Swords with Air, to me, this is all about knowledge. This is about pursuing knowledge. This is about maintaining a constant state of a learner's mind. I know that this card speaks of rest, but to me, what it speaks on is less about the rest of the physical body and more about the rest that comes from knowing that you have the tools in your brain to attack the situations that come up. So this, to me, is all about learning. Honestly, let's go ahead and stop it there with King of Cups, Lucky, and Temperance. Let me go ahead and pull out another deck to use with these. I always like to redisperse the cards throughout the deck a little bit randomly before I put it away. Alrighty, let's see, what's another oracle deck that we can use with the Star Power? Honestly, so many of my decks are good with this one because the colors are so wide-ranging. There's a lot of options, but I don't have a lot of decks, like oracle decks, that I love. I'm trying to cull and temper my oracle collection so that it more matches the types of decks that I like to use. So one thing that I have brought into my collection recently is the Iris Oracle. I bought this at the same time that I bought the Wanderer Tarot, or whatever that one's called. This I got from a Riffle and Times shop, and this purchase was based entirely on that Oracles with Attitude tag that's going around right now. A lot of people said that this one was an Oracle with Attitude, and I said, I like that. Let me get in on that train. So I did. And I went ahead and edged mine in a seafoam green to match the fronts. I love edging my decks right when I get them. It gives you a much more even edge than if you use them for a while and then try to go in and color, because as the edges get chipped, those chips will soak up more of the pigment and you'll end up with a splotchy edging if you don't do it right away. Fun fact that I have learned over my brief time playing with cards like this. So let's use the Iris Oracle. So we get King of Cups, Temperance, and you can't find goodness because you lost your heart. So the King of Cups to me is a card that's all about having control over your emotional landscape. So it's not necessarily a card that you get and you go, oh, yay. Because to me, the King of Cups is somebody who's so emotionally locked down in the name of having control over those emotions that they're not actually in touch with what those emotions are or how they look. And then Temperance is all about balancing your head and your heart. So to me, this is telling me that right now you are not a being that should be putting all of your money or putting all of your eggs in the basket that is your head. You really need to get back in touch with your heart. You need to stop locking down your emotions, and you need to regress a little bit back from the King of Cups, take it a step back to that Queen energy instead, and tap into those emotions and the intuitive knocks that you get from them, because your head's been controlling things for far too long and it's not your normal nature. You need to get back in touch with your emotions in order to move forward. Can't find goodness because you lost your heart. Then we have Two of Pentacles, the Sword, and the King of Wands. So the Two of Pentacles to me is all about like balancing two different worlds, and the King of Wands is about being in control of a situation that you yourself have brought about. So this is a card that's often about entrepreneurial spirit, about making businesses, about starting projects, about being a producer or a director. And the Two of Pentacles is about being lower on the totem pole and trying to balance all the different things that are necessary to bring about the future that you want. I ran out of time on my last clip and I didn't notice until I had already whipped out another oracle deck, so I'm not going back to the Iris. It's a beautiful deck and I will definitely spend more time on it in the future, but for today let's go ahead and move along to the Modern Nirvana Oracle. This one pairs really well with it for color and energy purposes, or for aesthetic purposes. Even though one of them is really busy, the other one is really minimalist, and that balances them out really well. So we get the Empress, Intention, and Four of Wands. Four of Wands to me is all about reaching a milestone in a project and like finally getting to a point where you have a payoff for what you've been working on, and like finally seeing that effort manifest in the world. It's also to me a card of plateau. The Four of Wands represents in my head the first plateau of skill on your journey to manifest your dreams. So to me, the Four of Wands is about, okay, you've reached that first milestone. Now what? You have gotten married. What's next? Do you buy a house together? Do you start a family? Okay, so you have started your business. What's next? Do you sit in the red for a couple of years? Do you hire people to help you? What's next? And then the Empress, in this deck specifically, the Empress is about the approval of the people around you, specifically the approval of like goddess energy. So to me, this speaks to like mommy problems and wanting the approval of your mother or of a mother figure in a situation. So like the Four of Wands and the Empress together tell me that you're seeking, that you have achieved a milestone and now you would like outside validation from a maternal figure in your life, perhaps a mentor or guardian. And while they may not necessarily give you that satisfaction, it's the Four of Wands after all, not the Six of Wands. You may not yet get that that social recognition that you crave. The point of the matter is your intention is pure and you are pursuing things for the purpose of improving. And as long as you keep your intention in line, you're not messing around with just being focused on getting her approval, you're going to have a much easier time getting away from this plateau. So keep your intention on your own work rather than on approval, and you're gonna be able to move forward off the plateau. Then we get the Queen of Swords, Initiation, and the Star. Ooh, this is fun. Okay, so the Queen of Swords to me is somebody who's been very cut off from their emotional landscape, because they are so strong in their mental arena. So rather than the King of Cups, which is somebody who has a stronghold of their emotions because they're good at emotions, the Queen of Swords is somebody who has a stronghold of their emotions because they're bad at emotions. This is somebody who disconnects from the world around them after having gone through difficult times. They may or may not intend to do it on purpose, but either way, it's not a very good response to the situation. And then the Star is all about healing and hope. So to me, this speaks to like some of the self-destructive, especially given like the image that we have here of this, of her with a crown of fire swallowing a sword. Like there's this idea that you have to initiate your own healing process, but that initiation can be achieved through some ritual introspection. And if you are able to even be honest about what you're doing to harm yourself and others to yourself, you don't necessarily have to tell others, but if you can be honest about those things with yourself, the healing can really begin. And the thing is, it's not going to be an easy process. It's going to hurt a lot to feel those things, but it's a necessary process in order to move on to the knowledge that you want to have. Because here's the thing, emotional wisdom is still wisdom. If you want to be wise and logical, you need to incorporate your understanding of your own emotions into your actions, and that's where you find that synthesis. Yeah. So I like these decks together. Visually, they really work. The Modern Nirvana is a deck that I like, but I don't love. I reach for it a lot, but not because I find it's good as far as the messages are concerned. It's not bad. It's just, it's a little bit shallow to me personally. When I use the guidebook, it's hit and miss, and so I like to use this deck a little bit more intuitionally, and the artwork is just so stunning. I can sit here and trash talk the deck all day long, but at the end of the day, I keep it because the artwork is so beautiful. I love the look of the Modern Nirvana. But yeah, that's it with the Star Power Tarot. And that's about all the time I have to play around with cards today. This did, in fact, make me feel a little better, so I appreciate y'all giving me your time. I'm going to clean all of this up, put this all away. Please let me know down below what some of your favorite combinations were. We didn't even get to, I wanted to pair this with the Poesies Oracle and then my personal Oracle as well. And then I've caught two others in my collection as well. So there was going to be 4 more decks that I thought about pairing this with today, but I'm filming before work, so I have limited amounts of time. And quite frankly, I have limited amounts of energy because, again, I have not been feeling the greatest. But thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you enjoy the Star Power Tarot as much as I do because it's just so frigging beautiful. It is so much fun, and I love the world that it puts me in. So thank you so much for hanging out. I'm going to quickly go journal on this pull before I put it away. I love you. Bye.